spooling up. All indications are green. It needs just a couple more seconds. Everything looks good. Okay, the meeting is yours, Mr. Magro. Let me know if you need anything.
Yeah, I was not anticipating we had to do this, but should we do a roll call first and just get a formal count of who's here?
Yes. Are you ready, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So Chairman McGrow,
Here.
Co-Chair Kashkarian.
Yep.
Secretary Muir. Commissioner Mazzara. Commissioner Wen.
He's there. There
Hi.
we go.
Here.
Commissioner DeVries.
Here.
Commissioner Ladka.
Here.
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Rishka.
Here.
Building official Tim Brandt.
Here.
Planners, we have Eric.
Here.
Shri.
Here.
Elizabeth.
Here.
And Jill.
Here.
And then I'm here. I'm off.
Okay, I'd like to open the meeting, the additional planning commission meeting to do a review of clear zoning. And I guess Jill is going to take it from here. So
Sure. Thank you so much. And we really appreciate the opportunity. I know this is a special meeting for you, so we will take it as much as you are interested in talking to us, we will be available for you. I'm Jill Boehm. I'm a partner at Giffords Webster. I've been there for about 12 years as a consultant. Some of you I may have met when we came out for our interview last year, I believe it was. One of our other planners, Matt Wojciechowski, and I handle the village, and Eric and Sri handle the township, but we all kind of touch base routinely just so that we're all aware of everything that's going on. Joe Tangari was going to join us, and he may have had something come up. He originally was going to be working with the township, but then we had Sri join us early this year, and it just seemed like a perfect fit for her. So we shuffled things around a little bit. And I also wanted Liz to be joining us tonight. Liz does a lot of the work on the clear zoning, the bulk of the work. It's very complicated, and she does a great job with it. So I'd like to have her be more part of the public engagement process that we do with this, so she can see this side of things as well. So thank you again. So our slideshow is pretty short, really, and then we can kind of answer questions or do some other things as you are interested. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. All right. And I made this into a PDF too, so Wendy, I can send this to you if you're interested, and then you can share it with the rest of the Planning Commission if you'd like. So it just introduces us with a couple of zoning related projects that we work with our communities on. We recently completed for Springfield Township, the city of Springfield, the zoning ordinance update in their clear zoning from 2019. It started with an audit. And the zoning audit is a great opportunity for us to really dig deep into the township's ordinances. We start by looking at your master plan, your most current master plan, and we look to see that your zoning ordinance is in alignment with that. That's really the basis of your zoning ordinance. Is we want to make sure that the things that you've envisioned, that you've outlined in your master plan, you are also directing growth and legally regulating it in that same way. And then we'll highlight places where maybe you've had a master plan update that your zoning ordinance needs to just catch up. So we like to look for those things. And then we look at other things like definitions. We try to see if there are things that are maybe inconsistent with case law or current state law or federal law. We look at your site standards, so things like landscaping, parking, lighting, and we'll make observations about not only current best practices, but also having in mind your vision for the community through your master plan, where there might be opportunities to enhance what you have right now in the ordinance. And it's it's a kind of it's a deep dive into your zoning ordinance. And then at the end of the day, we'll say, well, you've got a lot of things. I mean, typically there are many things, right? Because the zoning ordinance, we amend what we can amend when we can amend it. And we always have in mind a lot of things that we'd like to do, but just not always enough time to get to it. So we'll help you prioritize those things that are important. Those things might be areas in which you need to update the ordinance to be consistent with, for example, the Religious Land Uses and Institutionalized Persons Act, for LUPA. That's one of the things we look at to make sure that you are treating churches, places of worship, and other institutions the same way as you would treat other, in the case of places of worship, other similar uses like places of assembly. So we don't want to see additional parking standards or additional requirements that might be different from other places of assembly. So that's one of the things that we look at. And then we'll help you prioritize. We'll look at maybe wireless communications. Those things, state and federal law have changed over the last few years. We'll want to make sure that you're current there. Some of the high priority items from your master plan, we may highlight those as priority areas as well, things that you might want to be addressing sooner rather than later. And then we will work with you on setting up a schedule. We did one last year for one of our communities, and we set up a kind of a nice little schedule of some easy things and then some things that were a little bit more complicated, so that they could be checking a bunch of things off as they went and then still having time to tackle some of the bigger issues. So we're working through that, and that's a good thing to have. Also looking at just some of the ways in which we present ordinances, and you've seen our ordinance amendments where we give you a little bit of some background and some examples, and then we like to use a lot of graphics, as you know. It really helps, I think, with people understanding the concepts and understanding how regulations apply in certain conditions. Another example of that is from Rochester Hills. We did an ordinance update last year to create 2 new zoning districts that address housing specifically. And you can just see some of the graphics here. We try to put some of the regulations in tables, really trying to update the appearance, but in an intentional way so that it really helps people understand better what we're trying to accomplish. So the Clear Zoning product, I think it's 25. We've got a couple that are in draft, so I think our number's changing, which is nice. And we are in Michigan, Ohio, West Virginia, Louisiana, and Colorado. So we're kind of excited about that. When you see the ordinance transformed, you'll see that it's reorganized, it's reformatted, graphics are updated. We'll add hyperlinks. We try to do some clarifications or corrections. Those would be things like maybe in your current ordinance, reference is pointing to the wrong section, or you have 2 conflicting definitions. We'll talk to you about which one you would prefer, and then we'll just put that in. Typos, things like that, we'll just fix that, those kinds of things. We tend to like to do the amendments after because it's easier to find everything as we're moving through this, and we can talk a little bit more about that. So whenever we do the transformation, the ordinance is reorganized into the 7 articles, and this is standard. And to us, it makes sense. And then when we explain it to people, it makes sense to them too. So basically, the first one is your purpose and intent. That's probably the least used section. It's very short. Typically, it's why do we have this ordinance and what are we doing with it? Definitions come next, and you will see in your ordinance, there's probably definitions scattered throughout. This happens all the time where we come up with some new terminology, some new standards. We put in the definitions with that. And sometimes we forget that there were definitions that were similar or even the same, and they end up conflicting, or we put the same definition in twice because we don't realize it. You run the risk of having some conflicts in the future. This way, we go through, we pull all those definitions out so we can see them, and we put them in the same section, all in definitions. Districts, I'll show you that each one of the zoning districts will get its own 2-page spread. It just has the basic information. What can I build? And what are the standards, basic standards that go with it? Use standards are anytime you have a use that has conditions that go with it, like a gas station or a restaurant even, maybe a restaurant with your drive-throughs, and we know you're talking about that. Instead of having your list of uses all cluttered with all of the buts and ands and conditions, we can pull all those out into a separate section. And that way, when people look, they just see the basic information. So all the standards related to use always go into Chapter 4. Chapter 5 are the site standards. So what's happening on the site? What about parking? What about landscaping? What about lighting? How about dumpster enclosures? Anything that's about the site itself goes into the site standards section. Those typically are not going to vary so much by the use, but really by the district in which they're located. And then certain things like parking are always going to, you're always going to have the same size parking space, pretty much required throughout. So we don't need to keep repeating it. We just need to put it in the same spot. Development procedures. So how do I get a site plan approved? What's a special land use? Are there any other things that I need to know about getting through the development process? And our goal here is to really help people get through the process efficiently and consistently. It doesn't mean that you have to get rid of all your standards. It's nice to have everything in one spot so people can understand it. And then administration enforcement is at the end. That's going to be the Zoning Board of Appeals section, non-conforming uses, and then enforcement. What if I don't comply with my site plan? What happens? Those things are all in there. Okay, I kind of said that already. This is just an example from one of the communities that we were just finishing up. And you'll see that a lot of times you'll have in a district, it'll say any business permitted in previous districts, but that means people have to go back and look for those. Sometimes those standards for front yard and the setbacks, it's written out in words. It just can get kind of confusing. When we're done with that, this is what that same ordinance looked like. And so everything is listed out again, and the development standards here are put into a table with a graphic that shows the same information. We like to update the graphics. Sometimes our graphics can be old. They're black and white because that's what we had. They've been photocopied, they've been scanned and photocopied and scanned again. And sometimes they don't look so great. But now that we have the ability to print in color so much more easily, we can do those kinds of graphics in color and really enhance the understanding of the graphics that we're adding to an ordinance. Hyperlinks is the really cool part about the Clear Zoning Ordinance. We have text that's hyperlinked, and we have side tabs that are hyperlinked, and we'll show you all about how that works in a minute. We also sometimes can consolidate and clarify definitions. So for example, sometimes in commercial districts, there are uses listed like bakeries, soda fountains, flower shops. They might be kind of older terminology, but they're essentially all retail uses, and there's really no need to list them all out separately because we might miss something. Now there might be a new kind of use that's similar to retail, but it's effectively retail. So we can just say retail, and we can create a definition for that so that it's understandable. The Clear Zoning Ordinance works with Adobe Acrobat Reader. It's free software that can be downloaded, and you can install it on your computer. It doesn't require anyone to have any kind of special software, and it's something that's most people know how to use it, which is why we like it. We do have, and we can talk about this too, but there's certain little toolbar tricks that we like to use, and we'll show you how that all works together. When you do the transformation to the Clear Zoning, we do a little video afterwards that shows people how to use it too, which is, I think, helpful. You can also use, through Adobe Acrobat Reader, you can do the search for words and terms. The nice thing is that you can do a simple search, or you can do an advanced search. And when you do an advanced search, it can give you a little bit of the context in which that word appears. And that can be really helpful at helping you find what really you're looking for, especially if it's something that you're like, oh, I know I saw this before. And then you can see some of the context and go, okay, no, it's this last one that I want. We have in the ordinance, there are some helpful tools. We have a slide that or page that shows what the symbols all mean. There's not that many of them, so it's not too difficult. The table of contents, everything's going to be hyperlinked, to help you click from page to page. This also is a page that appears in the Clear Zoning Ordinance. It describes the format and why we have everything laid out the way we do, and it helps people navigate So this page is blown up here. So it'll tell you where you are, the district. We color code that district to your zoning map colors so that it makes sense for people. It's intuitive. Anything that's in blue is a hyperlink, so someone could click it and get more information. We have the graphics. These are our side tabs. And then we have the links that take you back. So this little eye will take you right back to this page in case you forget what you're looking at. The house goes to the table of contents, and then the little pin is the zoning map. And so that's all a part of the ordinance. So the district summary pages, again, like I mentioned, each district will have its own 2-page spread. So the left side will always have the list of permitted uses and special land uses. And you'll see that anytime there's something in blue, like auto wash here, and it has a section number next to it, section 4.29, you'll know there's special conditions that go with that use. And that can be either for a special land use or a permitted use. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the table with the dimensional standards and then a list of any additional requirements. We also have, in addition to the dimensional setbacks for the side, you'll see a building height graphic. And there's always some questions about how do I calculate the building height? Is it to the midpoint? Is it to the peak? When you click that, it'll take you back to the definition section where we have that graphic of building heights and how we calculate. Again, this is just to highlight a close-up of the special land use page where you can see, in this case, we've shown that multiple dwelling units have the little book, which means there's a definition that goes with it. And so you can click back on the definitions tab and look that up. Or you can go to section 4.14, which is the section that includes that. So people can use the tool, the zoning ordinance, as it is as an electronic document. But the nice thing is that you can also use it as a printed version. We have a use matrix at the beginning. Oh no, this is the selected requirements matrix. So this is any of the other additional standards. So someone would need to know what additional standards are there for multiple family, for the mobile home district, for these others. And then there's a check mark next to each of those items. Again, here's that graphic for building height that shows how that's calculated. We do have a use matrix also. This is a pretty nice tool. It's really handy if someone was looking for a specific, maybe they don't know where they want to go, but they know they want to open up a pet shop. So where can I open up a pet shop? Well, it looks like I scroll over here and I can see it's permitted in the C4 district for this community. If I clicked on that C4 up at the top, it would take me right to that 2-page spread. Definitions, you've got everything listed out in alphabetical order. You can click on those and it'll take you right to that page. There's just a couple of the graphics on landscaping. I think they're nice. The interactive zoning map is another additional feature that we've added on. And one of the things that I really like about the Clear Zoning and about our team is that we are always doing things to make it just a little bit better. So we had an interactive zoning map. We had the city of Springfield, when we were working on their map, ask us if we could develop a search feature where someone could put in an address and do it that way rather than trying to find their location on the map and zoom in to see what it is. And when I'm finished, I'm going to switch over and let Eric show you how that works. You can do it through his. Again, this is one of my favorite things that you can look at it online on your computer, but when you print it out, it looks the same way. And so if you've ever used like Municode or one of the other coding systems, or you've been on one of those sites, you'll know that when you print it, everything gets jumbled up. This makes it really nice. When we do amendments for you, we will give you an entire new electronic document, and we give you the replacement pages. So if you printed out the whole book and we changed maybe set page 3.22 for some reason, we added a use, we would give you page 3.21, which is the page before it, and 3.22, so that you could print that two-sided and stick it right in your book. We found that our clients like that a lot. And there's no annual fees to host it. You just keep it right on your own website. We recommend that you have the same page so that when you update it, it's always updated in the same place. And then we just charge you per page fees when there's an amendment. Just to let you know, we did get an award for this. I think it was 15 maybe, from the American Planning Division, or American Planning Association, their small town and rural planning divisions. We're very proud of that. We have our little awards page. It's more about us, but you guys know all that. Just kind of highlighting again some of our favorite features, the 2-page spread in the zoning districts, the colorful graphics, and that we do a lot of work with our small towns and rural communities, and we like that. So that is the end of the PowerPoint demonstration. Eric, do you want to show the interactive zoning map?
Sure. Can you stop sharing yours? Got it.
Yes. And then maybe when you're done, Liz, do you want to show the Coldwater one, or the actually we could do the whole Springfield ordinance? Do you want to just kind of click through some of that?
Sure.
Okay.
So can everyone see this?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the interactive zoning map. So it's a website. So you can link this on your township websites and save it as a hyperlink or bookmark, wherever you want, put it on social media and whatnot, being a website. Also, when it's done, it can be sent out to attorneys, engineers, so that they can bookmark it for quick reference when they're talking to clients. And then also, obviously, it's useful for staff to have saved on their work computers or any consultants. So how it works is Esri is the company that provides this software, and this is a global company. It's known as GIS, Geographic Information Systems, is the term you hear often. And a lot of this underlying info comes from other sources, so aerials, maybe a county flyover, roads, road names, center lines, parcels. That's all information that's typically static. Parcels, those would update obviously when there's a change with the parcel configuration. And then there's the zoning layer. So what we have turned on here is the zoning layer. Then this would be something we create based on your paper maps, and would be something we manage. And this is just a reference document. So the web version is not the official zoning map. Your paper map would still be your legal zoning map. So there would be a disclaimer on that. So how it works is you can search 2 different ways. You can zoom in just by scrolling on a mouse, click, and then click clear zone it, or you can type in the address here, and it'll populate with addresses in the city at the top. So then the main purpose of this function is it can create a nice aerial or a nice talking paper plan or image plan when you want to talk about a development proposal. If someone doesn't have a engineer or an architect hired yet, they can use this map, print it off for free, and then come and talk with staff about what they want to do, and everyone can have a more informed discussion. So basically, it's like the normal GIS process works. You have tabs once you're on your selected parcel, and then the link here is the clear zone it. So this goes to what Jill was talking about, the 2-page summary spread. So why it takes you here is whenever you're talking about zoning or uses, before you get into what's required for landscaping or parking, you always need to check that the use that an applicant's talking about is permitted. So this kind of sets you off on the right foot so that you verify that that's okay before you get, go down that path of permitting or planning commission hearing. So that's really it. It opens up as another tab, and this is, you can then download it or print it as a PDF, like the regular clear zoning document, and then it saves where you're at. And you can either go to your location or you can zoom back out to the home view. So any questions about that? Or?
And that's nice because it just gave you a little bit of information, told you basically the size of it. And
Who hosts that website? Like, is it your website? I see it's created for City of Springfield by Giffords Webster, but is that your website, or would it be Springfield's website?
We can host it, or I don't remember, and I don't remember if we are hosting it for the City of Springfield or if the City of Springfield has their own ArcGIS Online or their AGO account. I know the Oakland County does have the capability to help you with that. And I don't know if the township has an AGO account, but you can either host it yourself or we can host it for you. And there's a fee with that, but that means you don't have to do anything with it.
And when updates are made, that's something you guys obviously change the map for whatever it is, and then you'll print us a new one, but it's done live. Like the work that's done on it on a typical daily, day-to-day basis or monthly basis, that's done by you.
Right. Yes, we would do all that.
And then is that shown live? Like, is it updated? You know, when you update?
Yeah, usually it would be within 2 weeks or so. Like if you had action, say you took action tonight to rezone a property, we would have that updated within, well, it's usually a week, but we say 2 just to give ourselves a buffer. And that's really the case with any amendment that we do for you.
Right.
So this this is how we would create the paper map that you have too, if you have a more modern. So that it would be there would be no extra step or duplicates that could get confused. So this is the file that creates the printable paper map.
All right. So Liz, do you have that one available?
Yes. Yeah, I have Springfield pulled up.
Okay. We'll just have Liz give you a little spin around how the interactive version works.
Can you guys see the screen?
Yep.
Okay. So just to highlight some of that interactivity, go to the main table of contents here, click on this. It'll take you to the table of contents with sections. From here, you can go through how to use this ordinance, to take you to content organization page layout. You can go through your use matrix here. As Jill was talking about when she was going through the use matrix, you can click on the district up here. It'll send you straight to that spread. With the uses, anything highlighted in blue will send you to the use standards page. And like she was talking about, these links down here will take you right back to how to use this ordinance or the table of contents with sections. You get to the zoning map here, and from the zoning map, you can click on the legend, and the legend will take you to that spread as well. If we go directly to the definitions section, you can see that you can select any definition that you might need here, take you directly to the page. From the 2-page spreads on in Article 3, oh, actually, we didn't do the requirements guide in this, but from here, right, there will be a requirements guide. We actually updated this. This is how the requirements used to be laid out, but we have that simple guide now that Jill showed you. So it'll be less cluttered in these. You know, these used to be, it looks like this one, we had 4-page spreads, but we've cut it down to 2 now with that requirements matrix. So that'll be really helpful. Let's see. Are there any other specific links that you'd like me to go through, Jill?
I think that was great. And that's really the end. I'll ask Sri, is there anything else that you want to add?
I think I can say I've used both clear zoning and non-clear zoning formats, and I love the clear zoning format. And it's very helpful, especially the blue links. And when you recategorize the use standards and zoning districts, you don't have to shuffle through unwanted data. You can just go through the actual data you need, and clears, maintains clarity and avoids confusion.
So the township's code is very difficult to find things quickly without just scrolling and scrolling until you think you get to the right section. And, you know, when you're in a meeting and you're trying to answer a question as quickly as possible to keep things going, it really slows it down. So I think compared to some other Unicode or word-based ordinances I've seen, Milford's would benefit greatly from a zoning audit. And then also the hyperlinking and things like that, that just make, you can fly through the document and look at 2 or 3 pages out of 200 that you really need to see.
Right. My favorite thing is when you go to the summary pages where you have the development standards. Liz, can you take us to that page?
Sure.
If you go to zoning districts, any of the zoning district, the next page after. It also talks about, is it the next page?
That's the one that we modified. That looks different from,
Right.
It's all there.
Requirements one. It's just like everything's right there. So the first page talks about the permitted uses and the special land uses, which like any developer is the first information they want to know. Then they get to the development standards that talks about setbacks. And then if that's all a property owner would like to know. And then all the additional requirements is for the designers and the design team who wants to dig into more detail. So I think I like that summary of additional requirements, just like a preview, what you need to think about. I think that was my 2 cents.
Yeah, so that's essentially the presentation of the clear zoning, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. We can share the PowerPoint with you, and we can share the links for some of the other zoning ordinances if you want to spend some time looking at them too.
I think that would be a good idea. Do any of the commissioners have any questions they'd like to ask at this time?
I do have a question. So I know we just switched to Giffords Webster, just recently, and I'm sure we plan on staying with you forever. But what happens if, 10 years from now we have a new board and they decide to switch to a different consultant? What happens at that point? Does all this stuff go away?
No.
Does it?
No,
does
you can always, you don't need to have us as your planners to maintain the clear zoning ordinance. We have many of our clients that use the clear zoning tool, but not all of our clear zoning clients are also our planning clients. We have several communities that do a lot of their own updating, their own ordinances. They have staff. And that's fine. Or we have communities that we've worked for that have relationships with other planners. And the nice thing about the audit, at least for things that we do, that we help them, with that additional resources. But we also help some of our communities too if they're making their own ordinance changes. We ask them to share them with us because we want to make sure that they get incorporated the right way. So we're not trying to take over the work, but we just like to make sure that the work is done consistent with the organizational format of the clear zoning to preserve the integrity of that. Now, if 10 years down the road, you felt like this just isn't for us, we don't like it, we don't want to have it online anymore, we would give you it all back in a Word file. It wouldn't stay in the same, appearance. The appearance would be different. It would just be a Word file, but you still have your ordinance back. So it's not like we would keep it. It's your ordinance. As we say, it's your ordinance, only better. I think that's our tagline.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Good.
You wouldn't be able to unorganize it, if that makes sense. Once it's reorganized, it would be too complicated to go back to the Word format.
If I can add one, the other advantage of clear zoning is most of the developers the design team is used to looking at clear zoning in other communities. Like Jill said, we have about 25 communities that are using this. So when they look at this format, they're like, okay, I know where to find what I need because they're used to the same consistent formatting when they look at clear zoning. So that also makes it an added benefit for developers and designers who are used to clear zoning in other communities.
And we do have communities nearby that are using it. So City of Novi, City of Brighton, White Lake Township. Those are probably, West Bloomfield Township. Those are some of the close-in ones.
How long did it take you, or does it normally take you to go through from the time you start to getting, West Bloomfield to where they are now, for example?
Oh, don't even ask about West Bloomfield. That took forever. Oh my goodness, that took forever. That was a while ago. That was one of the earlier ones. I think we did that one in maybe 2009 or 10 maybe. It was early on, but now we're doing them. I would say it depends on the length and the complexity of the ordinance. Generally speaking, it's about 5 months. Usually it's about a month for us to do the zoning audit. We kind of like to power through that. And then it takes time. We go through the ordinance and we have to determine where everything is going to go. So it's about 5 months, I would say.
Well,
And then it is you hold a public hearing on it. It would be a replacement. It would be a replacement of your existing ordinance.
Hey, Jill, has the township given you the approval yet for the audit?
No, I don't think so. Not yet.
So, okay, what do you need direction-wise to get the ball started, kind of?
I think if you just let us know, or let Sri or Eric know, or if
Okay,
you're letting us know now, that's fine. We can start working on that.
all right.
Can I step in, Tim? Don was just saying today that he was just looking for a rough idea of pricing so that he could get a budget item going for it.
And I was looking in my files actually while Eric was showing you the map, because I thought I did that actually, and I was looking for it, and I'm not sure that I found it easily and quickly in my email, but I can, if I didn't do it, I'll do it.
Okay.
And if I did, I'll send it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think we're just ready to,
Yeah.
to let it rip, Again, it was one of the, I don't want to say reasons is a bad word, but one of the benefits of having Giffords now represent us is this revamping of our ordinance. This was a real selling point and something they were really excited to start. So I just don't want this to kind of be dropped and go by the wayside and everybody wonders what's happening with our audit and when I could have been
No, and
doing
it's a
something
really
to get it going.
it's a really good time. We are just finishing up. We had one clear zoning ordinance for Chesterfield Township adopted. I think it was Tuesday night. Cass City up in the Thumb is going to be having their second reading, I think next week. So they'll be having theirs adopted probably by the end of the month. And Coldwater had their public hearing. Was that last night, Liz? Or no, 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago. So they'll be having theirs adopted soon too. So we have capacity to do this work. And so that would be great. Good timing.
Okay, and I don't want to burden Eric and Sri with any more because we've had these PUDs come to us and some site plans and
you've been keeping them busy, which is good.
Again, yeah.
Keeps them out of trouble.
But is it Eric and Sri going to be doing a lot of the audit kind of nuts and bolts, or is that you can send off to some other folks at your firm and they can still be
We'll talk if we're starting it like next week. We'll look at our plates and see who's got the capacity to do it. I think it makes sense since they've already been working in it a little bit.
Okay.
And they're already going to have they've got their feet wet in there and they know some of the issues already.
Yeah, that's
and it'll also be really good for both of them to really get into your master plan too, because there may be other things in there that they need to be aware of.
Okay.
But then I'll probably be involved with it too. So
We could always do the audit after clear zoning.
yeah, you know what? It's nice to do it before. Well, yeah, you're right. Either way, it can go either way. We've done it both ways.
It's easier because you can make the changes then. You know what changes you need to make.
True.
But
Do we need
do the audit first.
have any questions?
Yeah, What's the normal plan of attack on doing this to the ordinances that we have? I mean, do we prioritize which ones we want done first, or how's the best way to go about it?
Usually after we have the audit complete, we'll have the priority list that we would recommend. There might be things in the ordinance that you have it's been bugging you for years that you want to have changed. Hopefully we'll catch that through the audit, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's something that's not, doesn't rise to that level for us, but it might just be a sticking point for you that you say, you know what, we get complaints about this one thing all the time. Can we fix that? And we can add that in as a priority item. But in fact, doing this now is good because it kind of helps set you up as looking at 2021, which aren't we all going to be glad to see 2021 come? But you can start looking at your calendar and planning out what you might want to be working on in terms of those amendments. So doing the audit, September, October, working on some of the priority things that you want to do maybe in November, and then tackling it maybe even starting in December, but January, where, like I said, we could have some, what we did for the community recently was we made sort of we took all the things that they wanted to do and we broke it into like a little quadrant. And we showed them, you know, here's some items we think are going to take some time and they're going to potentially be maybe controversial. Here on the other end are some of the things that are low controversy and low effort. And we can kind of pick and choose some of those that we can do, get rid of some of these little ones that are easy while we're working on some of the things that are more complicated or have more potential for conversation with the community.
Is the audit a separate and distinct piece of going on to the next step in putting all this in the format and online that we've been talking about?
It's
a separate decision, separate effort?
No, I mean, you could do, well, I mean, we end up doing essentially an audit with the clear zoning anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Just because as we're pulling things apart, we're going to find issues. But you can do the audit first or you can do the audit later. It's really up to you. We can work with it either way.
Tim, how do you, based on your conversations, how do you see those two elements, you know, unfolding and decisions being made on, you know, step 1 and step 2, for example? I mean, I think it's great. You know, the whole thing is great, but obviously a decision has to be made.
Yeah, I think the clear zoning format would go quicker, and then the audit would be, I think, more conversation on prioritizing what we want to change. There's Eric has, you know, kind of shown us some spots in our ordinance that we've got to work on soon. And you kind of wondered maybe the audit first to get some of those, get the ball rolling, because it's taken us so long to get things, you know how it takes time for us, Vaughn, to get something in paper, you know, months. You know, when we do an amendment to the ordinance, you would think it would be 2-3 months and it ends up 5. You know, that's the part that's frustrating.
But going clear zoning without first doing the other, you end up redoing some stuff, don't you? I mean, don't you really do the audit first, so that when we do the clear zoning, you know, it's working with something that's been updated? And we
actually won't do any amendments to the audit or after the audit. If we try to, I mean, we can, but it just makes more sense to do the transformation first, because then everything can go in the right spot that it's going to go eventually. It also helps when we're amending sections so that we can find all of the cross references easily. We know Eric and I were working with the City of Rochester Hills, and when we do amendments for them, it's a little bit more complicated because we're all over the ordinance to make sure that anytime, like for example, I think it was with the R5 district, like every time we were looking at the R4 district, we wanted to put the R5 with us. We had to make sure we caught all of those things. And doing it with clear zoning, it's easier because everything's typically in one spot. We did a similar amendment for Brighton, and it was easier to do because everything was pretty much together.
I think what audit does is it kind of creates like a checklist, a priority checklist to identify what are the amendments that are required. And then we can decide, okay, this group is like immediate and this can be short term and this can be long term. And then we get to them one by one.
Yeah, because I think, you know, if we really have some sort of really serious inconsistencies that we're dealing with now, it would seem that that would be a very high priority to get rid of those and do something with them, right? I mean,
Simple time.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it, we can do them at the same time. We can go concurrently where we're starting to pull the ordinance apart, and at the same time, we're building the list of things for the audit, so that at the end of the 5 months, we have pretty much 2 things for you. We have a new ordinance and we have the audit. And then you can hit the ground running with doing some amendments.
So it sounds like it's going to take about 5 months to do this initial the initial formatting and auditing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Two basic questions. The first is what are the functionalities of this? Are we able to download it? Can Tim put it on a laptop and march out in the field?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he could use it on a tablet if he wanted to also, or even his phone.
Great. And it's fully functional.
It is.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
And
we had to do
Did you
some
say that the
updating
format
stuff.
is PDF?
Yes, it is a PDF.
So it's just a one file that you have to bring over to whatever device that you have.
Right.
And then any PDF reader, obviously Adobe would be good, but if you were using something else, it would probably still work just fine.
Right. We had to do some adjustments to some of our side tabs and things to make sure that they were compatible with the Apple products, but I'm pretty sure that that is working now.
I think it does. What I used to do is I used to download the Clear Zoning PDF into iBooks on an iPad.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to worry about internet or anything. You don't have to use a data plan because it's in your iBooks and then it's fully functional. You can use all the links, all the hyperlinks and everything.
so if someone downloaded this and had that, I'm not very well initiated in all this stuff, but if somebody had this downloaded and referenced it, you know, on an ongoing basis, to update the whole thing, how do they go about doing that? Can they just plug into something and it just updates everything?
They would go to the township website and they would click on the link and they would just probably look at the cover page and they would say, and Liz, I don't know if you can go to the cover page on this with that real quick, but it has the effective date on the cover.
Oh.
So there you go, effective August 6th. Now, when it gets amended, down in the bottom right-hand corner, it'll say amended November 2020, so that you would know that you have the current one and you're fine, or that you need to download a new one.
Does it say anything about what was amended?
It does in the back. We'll be
Yeah.
cross-referencing that. Mhm.
Yeah.
And it looks like I've noticed on a couple of pages, like on this page, for instance, at the very bottom of the screen, it says effective August 6, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like on every page you have essentially a version code of the document.
Right. And when a page gets amended, we don't add that to every page. It's just the pages that get amended. It'll say amended 11/2020.
Okay, so the whole document doesn't get an update throughout the whole thing then?
You will get one electronic document that will be current, and any page within there will be marked as to when it was updated.
Gotcha.
But the whole document will be replaced. And then we'll also send you a folder that'll just be the replacement pages, so that if you do have one printed, you can just print those out and hole punch them and stick them in your binder.
Tim, I would think this would be a great help for you, for your people that you deal with, all right?
Me?
Yeah.
You're talking.
Yeah, I would think it'd be a great help to the people you deal with on, and you as well, obviously, in dealing with it.
The phone is the easiest thing, Vaughn, so no one reads. They just call me on the telephone and ask me.
And then
that part
tell them
that
to
part
go
won't
to the
change.
town.
It'll be easier for me to find it, for sure. But
Yes, but you can, you know what? I actually I walked, she found an older woman with an ordinance a couple of months ago. And I told her how to find it and where it was on the website. It was for another township and how to get through it. And it was so cool hearing her be excited about, oh, I can find everything and I can just send this to my architect. And she was like, oh, we can do all that. And it was pretty cool.
Just say this seems like it's kind of ordinances or information for dummies because I'm understanding it. Okay.
Well, I would never put it that way, but I understand what you're saying. And we do want to make it more approachable and more understandable because it helps everybody, right? It helps when we accept in applications from people if they have all the information that we asked for and that they comply with the ordinances. You know, I have someone go, well, I didn't know that, and that's buried in the ordinance. Or like what can happen is you have a change of planning commissioner or a change of staff, and all of a sudden somebody reads something that nobody really knew was in the ordinance, but there it is. And, you know, that can cause some confusion too.
Jill, I have a similar experience I'd like to share, especially when single family residents come over and they're like, they want to build a house and you print them those 2 summary pages that just talks about the setbacks. They feel like they have been treated very specially, like they're so happy.
Yeah.
Well, I got everything I need in these 2 pages, the setbacks and the height and everything I need in 2 pages. So residents really loved those 2 summary pages in my experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next steps?
We need to get you the quote. We'll get that to Tim and to Don and Wendy. And then we're ready to go whenever you are.
So does this have to go through the planning commission and then recommendation to the board?
I don't think so. This is kind of an administrative thing from the board.
Okay.
And again, it was a reason that they were excited to have Giffords Webster join our township as the consultant was to make that ordinance a little more user friendly. So
Okay, so the plan is to take it to the next board meeting and approve the funds and the direction?
that's what I'm hoping, that
Okay.
Don can bring it up in his supervisor's report and get a motion there at the board meeting.
Okay, good.
So they can relay it to Giffords.
How much lighter is the book going to be?
Oh, it'll be lighter.
Great.
We used to, it depends on the community, but you know, it can be anywhere from like 20 to 25 to 30% lighter.
Great.
Because we're not, you take everything out that's been duplicated, that's repeated in each section. So often we can really bring it down quite a bit.
It'll weigh about the size of or the weight of a laptop.
Yeah, it's in a, we have them printed. I know I'm at home, so now I don't have any of those with me, but a lot of them are, we keep them all in a 3-ring binder because sometimes it's easier for us to go through them that way too, when you have things that you go to all the time.
Okay.
Tim, is the village on board with this too, or getting on board?
Good question.
I have no idea.
It's our understanding that they are. We haven't gotten, I don't know that they're in quite as a rush, but we did do a presentation for them as well, and they really liked it too.
And I assume the costs are twofold. There's a setup cost for this initial, and then there's an ongoing maintenance cost.
Right. We do the price for the transformation is, we typically base it on the number of districts. We find that seems to be a good breakdown. And then the replacement page is just however many pages get amended. But there's no annual fee associated with it. So if all you did next year, well, next year you're going to do a lot of amendments, but say you didn't do any amendments in a given year, then you wouldn't have to pay anything. We don't recommend, I know some communities will hold their ordinances and they'll say, well, we just want to save and, you know, just send a bunch of ordinances at once. But when we've gotten a ton of ordinances from, and it's typically from the communities that aren't our ongoing planning clients, they can kind of be hard to get through because sometimes they're changing sections and then they didn't realize that like 8 months later, they made another change and it affected some of the changes that hadn't been incorporated yet into their ordinance. So they missed some things. So it can get kind of messy. So we just say it's better just to do them as you get them. And then you always have a current ordinance.
So Tim, are we going to roll this out to the ZBA as well?
Well, Jill says it's going to be available to us, and they can look at it at their leisure, at least the presentation.
Oh, okay.
Plus, this is on YouTube now, right?
Yes.
They can just tune in, Neil.
So today's presentation will be on YouTube and then go through it.
Sure.
All right. So we should send a note out to those folks, let them know.
We'll do that.
Okay, thank you. Because otherwise they're going to be on me.
One more detailed question, please. If you ever walk away from us in 10 years or hopefully longer, and we get a word equivalent of this, does it include the artwork?
Boy, that's a good question.
Thank you.
I'll find that out. Yeah, we haven't really had this happen, so.
I hope it never does.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any more questions?
Nope.
Okay, I guess at this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
No, Mr. Chairman, please.
I'm sorry.
We need to have a call to the public if there's any public present to see if they have any questions or any comments that are non-agenda.
Thank you for keeping me on track there. Do we like to make a call to the public, and if anybody's got any comments, they can do them right now?
Mr. Chairman, there are no outside callers from the public in the meeting online right now.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. I guess then we can close the meeting. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
I have a second.
Second.
Okay, Vaughn, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having us, and thanks for accommodating a special night for us.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Thank you. I think it'll bring us into the 20th, 21st.
Yeah, right.
That's right. Whether you want to or not, right?
Really?
Yep.
I admire the optimism that there will be a 2021.
Oh my goodness. Yes, there has to be.
Yeah.
Got to get better, right?
Yeah.
Mr.